step into the world of fun.
After killing Wu Bo, Fly Zombie chose to flee directly instead of returning to the cave to continue the slaughter. It doesn't make sense for LiMu, a pure yang physique, to stand there and ignore it. Instead, he is so concerned about the body of Earth. Could it be that? Is there something special that attracts the body of Earth to it? In the county of Yu in the north, an old man with a white beard wearing a Taoist robe took out a talisman from his arms and smiled at several village women, saying, "I used my talisman. It will ensure that you all will have chubby sons in the future. How about that? Only 2-1 for one talisman. 2-1 can't buy you a loss. 2-1 can't make you fall for a trap." This Taoist was dressed very sloppily and had the face of a swindler. However, several village women at the village entrance believed his words without any doubt. Suddenly, a black shadow flew quickly over the old man's head. A look of confusion appeared on the old Taoist's face. How could there be a fly zombie here? Not long after, another figure came flying in the wind and landed at the village entrance. It was an old man with black and white hair. The woman at the village entrance immediately exclaimed, "Master Immortal!" The old man waved his sleeve, and a static light and shadow appeared in the empty space in front of him. Have any of you seen this person before? The crowd shook their heads one after another. There is no such person in our village. At this moment, the old man noticed the amulet in the woman's hand. He paused for a moment, and then he said to several village women, "The talisman is a way to communicate with spirits and gods. Do not use it without authorization, and do not easily believe the words of charlatans." The village women were all upset when they heard this. Is the talisman I used to have a son fake? Refund from the scammer. The sloppy Taoist priest was suddenly anxious. Everyone is in the same profession. Why bother? The old man ignored it. His body soared into the air again, about to leave. But he was grabbed by the ankle by the old man. The scruffy old Taoist said angrily, "Come down. Talisman-making faction is something great. Blessing is something great. I'll tell you. If you don't make yourself clear today, don't think about leaving." The old man didn't expect to be pulled down by the old Taoist. Moreover, the other party clearly revealed his realm with just one sentence. However, he couldn't see through the old Taoist at all. This indicates that the other party's cultivation is still above his. He took a talisman from a woman's hand with a terrified look on his face. It was only after he took it that he realized the talisman contained abundant spiritual energy without dispersing. It's not an ordinary talisman. He immediately bowed to the old Taoist in respect. The younger generation is ignorant. Please don't blame the elder. The old Taoist snorted coldly. His hand rested on the old man's shoulder. "You come with me." A few miles outside the village, the unkempt old Taoist asked, "Are you chasing that fly zombie?" Elder Wu quickly asked. "It has harmed countless people in Zhou County. My grandson has also been tragically killed by it. If this disaster is not eradicated, North County will not be peaceful," he continued. The old Taoist, looking disheveled, sighed. "Well, the previous sect leader of the talisman-making faction did me a favor in the past. Today, I will help you with one divination," he said. After saying that, he quickly formed hand seals. Elder Wu saw the gestures made by the old Taoist and knew without a doubt that he must be an inside Abstruse expert. After a moment, the scruffy old Taoist shook his head and said, "If you continue to pursue this, it won't be just your grandson who dies at its hands." Master Wu couldn't believe it and said, "The fly zombie has just evolved. Invite Elder Luta, who is not very talkative." With a wave of his large sleeve, a light curtain appeared in the void. Compared with the lights and shadows of Master Wu just now, this light curtain is clearer, and it is not stationary, but dynamic. The walking fly zombie suddenly lifted his head. His gaze seemed to penetrate through the light and shadow. He saw that old Taoist and Elder Wu, just like before. The next moment, the light curtain shattered into countless pieces directly. Elder Wu's face changed dramatically as he trembled and said, "It broke your projection screen? How is this possible?" That old Taoist spoke with a deep gaze, saying, "Even I can't figure out its origin. To get rid of it, please invite the leaders of your various peaks. The matter of Zhou County is over." Wu Bo also died in the hands of Fly Zombie. LiMu finally got some peace. In these few months, the cases of Yangqiu County, one case after another in Yangqiu County. It's rare to have such idle time. Take advantage of having nothing to do. LiMu can just calm down and think about his own cultivation. The order of refining pure and condensing hun can be reversed. The last three pu of LiMu are born from negative emotions, love, and desire. He should set aside these last three pu for now. First, let's consolidate the hun element. During this time, efforts should be made to collect love and desire. It seems that there are cultivators specifically seducing naive girls. After deceiving their emotions and bodies in a short period of time, they ruthlessly abandon them, making these women resent them. In this way, they can collect love, desire, and resentment at the same time, and finally consolidate the final sanpa. But this is something I absolutely cannot do. It's too despicable. It's better not to use such a method to obtain love and desire. The only option left is to marry several more wives, LiMu said with a mischievous smile. Could this be a sign from God for him? At this moment, two bald men appeared at the door of the duty room. The young bald man is Huiyuan. The older bald man is Xiandu. Xiandu asked with a slight smile. Does the young benefactor have time to go to Golden Mountain Temple now? LiMu nodded. I will go and tell the boss, then we can leave. Soon LiMu and Xiandu returned to the Golden Mountain Temple. This is LiMu's second time here. The last time was because of the tiger demon incident. At this time, Xiandu said, let's go around the Buddhist hall. If you walk down the ordinary long corridor, you will see the abbot. LiMu followed behind Xiandu. From time to time, you can see people chanting scriptures. There is always a familiar feeling, but unable to pinpoint where this faint familiarity comes from. He closed his eyes silently and felt it. He found traces of the power of merit and deed, spreading from these worshippers and believers. Entered the body of the Buddha statue. Xiandu recited a Buddhist mantra and asked, Li Shizhu, are you curious about merit?
LiMu nodded.
This power is quite amazing. I do not know what mysteries there are. Xiandu smiled and said, this power is called merit in Buddhism. The Taoist sect calls it mind power. The court regards it as the country's fate. It can help cultivators, and cultivators can help the country consolidate its fate. It is the power of belief and also the power of people's hearts. LiMu roughly understands. Whether it's a Taoist sect, a Buddhist sect, or a country, if you want to continue to grow and prosper, inevitably you need to unite people's hearts. He who gains the people's hearts gains the world. The two walked through several long corridors and arrived in front of a wing room, where they met the abbot of the Golden Mountain Temple. Xiandu stepped forward to introduce them. This is little layman LiMu. LiMu put his palms together and greeted the abbot. The abbot showed a compassionate smile. The young benefactor doesn't need to be so polite. This old bones of mine will trouble the young benefactor. LiMu also replied politely. Master Xuandu has shown kindness to me. It's only proper. Let's begin now. The abbot sits with his back facing LiMu. LiMu closes his eyes and extends his hand to touch the back of the abbot. He silently recites the Heart Sutra using the method of forbidding speech. Golden light gradually appears in his hand, continuously flowing into the abbot's body. After a moment, LiMu's magic power is exhausted. The golden light in his hand gradually dims. At this moment, Xiandu reaches out and touches LiMu's shoulder. LiMu only feels a surge of pure Buddhist magic power entering his body from his shoulder, rushing into his limbs and bones. This magic power is peaceful and stable, allowing LiMu to manipulate it at will. After a quarter of an hour, under his full control, Xuandu's magic power is also close to depletion at this moment. LiMu only smells a strange smell. He looked down at the black stains stuck to his skin in shock and exclaimed, What is this? Xiandu smiled and said, These are the impurities left after you tempered your body. After each level of cultivation in the realm of exploration, there will be such impurities expelled. He can make your body become more resilient. LiMu touched and sniffed a bit in front of his nose. It smelled like shit, but with his current strength, he couldn't achieve body tempering yet. Is Master Xiandu helping me? LiMu suddenly realized and clasped his hands toward Xiandu. Thank you, Master. Xiandu smiled slightly. It's nothing. After finishing speaking, he looked at the abbot. You can see that the abbot's complexion has improved a lot. Indeed, the light of the Buddha is truly miraculous for the abbot's injury. LiMu nodded. I can come a few more times to heal the abbot. Xiandu expressed his gratitude and said, Thank you, Li Benefactor, for your help. After that, Xiandu led LiMu out. Li Benefactor, you can go bathe first. I will have the novice prepare clean clothes for you. That's it. LiMu bathed for over half a shurchen and then went straight back to Yangqiu County. On the way, he kept recalling the words that Master Xiandu had told him. That is the cultivation method of the first realm of Buddhism. According to this cultivation method, one's physical strength will increase significantly. LiMu also had a lot more expectations at this time. Hanja, who was patrolling the streets at this time, saw LiMu. He was stunned at first, then exclaimed with joy, LiMu, have you finally become a monk? LiMu mercilessly shattered Hanja's hopes. He was just borrowing the clothes to wear. Don't think too much. Hanja looked at him with regret on his face. What a pity. The clothes look good on you. LiMu really feels a toothache. Why is Hanja always hoping to become a monk? Soon LiMu came home with dirty clothes. Lu Hanyin stood in the yard, pinching her nose and frowning. What's that smell? You fell into the outhouse. After saying that, she glanced up and down at LiMu. What kind of outfit is this again? LiMu raised the dirty clothes in his hand and said, This official robe got dirty. changed into a different outfit temporarily. Lu Hanyin pinched her nose, took the clothes from his hands, constantly muttering that it stinks, then threw the clothes into the basin. He simply squatted down there and helped LiMu wash. LiMu somewhat embarrassedly said, "You can just leave it there. I'll wash it myself later," Lu Hanyin muttered. "I'm afraid you won't clean it properly. I really don't know how you managed to make the clothes smell so bad." Lu Hanyin squats there washing clothes. LiMu is also not idle. "Take out the dishes from the kitchen." Squatting beside her, "The vegetables to be eaten today are washed clean." Lu Hanyin kept washing, suddenly stopped her hands, staring straight at LiMu's arm. Lu Hanyin put down the clothes, using wet hands to grab LiMu's arm, looked at it over and over and said, "Why do I feel like you've gotten paler? The skin has also improved, so bright and smooth." She suddenly looked at LiMu and asked, "You haven't been secretly cultivating some kind of anti-aging technique behind our backs, have you?" LiMu looked at Lu Hanyin with suspicion. By harnessing spiritual energy into her body daily and using talismans, she is already able to achieve the effect of anti-aging. There is no need to learn the Buddhist methods anymore. An even more important reason is that LiMu simply cannot imagine it. The whole body is emitting golden light. What would it look like if Lu Hanyin, who plays the guzheng or pipa, were to hit someone with them? LiMu quickly shook his head and said, "Of course not." Lu Hanyin obviously still didn't believe him. "Have you ever behaved like this before?" LiMu pulled back his hand and said, "That's how I used to be. It's just that you haven't noticed." Lu Hanyin looked at him carefully. She always felt that his skin was much fairer and tender than before. Her face couldn't help but blush. He lightly spat out and said, "I didn't notice before that you look. He really looks like a dog." LiMu laughed, unwilling to be disgraced. "It's mutual." The next morning, LiMu arrived at Baishui Water Bay. Sewer said lightly, "You indeed didn't come once that little snake left. What made you come find me today?" LiMu asked helplessly. "Don't joke around. This time there is indeed a big event. I went to Zhou County not long ago. After I came back, there were a bunch of matters in the yamen again. I came to see you as soon as I had free time," Sewer asked. "Have the zombies in Zhou County been pacified?" LiMu nodded. "They have been pacified. However, one fly zombie escaped. But experts from the talisman-making faction have gone to chase it. Dealing with it should only be a matter of time. It's the corpse at the bottom of the lake that's concerning. I have asked. The altar at the bottom of the water is a profound formation. It is almost impossible to break open from the outside. Only when her strength is enough can she come out from the inside. But at that time, I am worried that you may be in danger." Sewer doesn't mind. Let her give it a try. I am also not someone to be trifled with. LiMu worried. "But the dead woman at the bottom of the water is related to you. If we destroy her consciousness, will you come back to life by occupying her body?" Sewer shook her head and said, "No. Hun is not the original spirit. It cannot be reborn by borrowing a body. Hun is hun. Corpse is corpse. Even if they are combined, they are still sinister things. Your thoughts are too bizarre." LiMu sighed helplessly. "Okay, but no matter what, I cannot watch you be devoured by that corpse." LiMu took some hair from his own head and handed a few talismans to Sewer. "If there are signs of the female corpse breaking the formation, activate this talisman. I will come as soon as I see it." Sewer asked suspiciously, "What is this?" LiMu smiled and replied, "This is a Taoist talisman that can guide you to me. Once it's imbued with the aura of my hair, activating it will lead you to my whereabouts. When I see this talisman, I will know that you are in trouble here. I will come over immediately. Don't lose it." Sewer kicked LiMu's shin and said, Got it, got it. I won't lose it," LiMu replied, feeling restless and agitated from the kick. Hurriedly, he left with his head down. LiMu used the teleportation symbol to quickly return to the county town. When he arrived at the county yamen gate, he saw a bald man loitering there. LiMu walked over and asked politely, "Master, do you need any help?" The bald man turned his head and glared angrily at LiMu, asking, "Which of your eyes sees me as a monk?" LiMu pointed to his own head. The middle-aged man got angry and said, "I am bald, not a bald donkey." LiMu muttered to himself in his heart, "Being bald like this, might as well just become a monk." LiMu suppressed the little curiosity in his heart and asked, "Do you have any business at the county yamen?" The bald man said with a serious face, "I come from the ancestral hall of the talisman-making faction. When you go in, find Li Qing and tell her that Master Ma is looking for her." LiMu smiled and said, "So it's Master Ma. Please come in, please come in. The boss should be inside. I'll take you in." However, when LiMu brought the monk to the duty room, Li Qing was not there. He must have gone on patrol. LiMu said to the bald man, "Uncle Ma, please rest here for a moment. The boss should be back soon." The bald man waved his hand. "Never mind. She's not here. It's the same if I look for your county magistrate. LiMu suddenly remembered that Magistrate Zhang had specifically instructed him. If someone from the talisman-making faction comes, just say he's not here. LiMu smiled and said,
Sorry.
The county magistrate is not in the county government office right now. Ma Shi frowned and asked, Don't lie to me. When will he be back? At this moment, Zhang Shan beckoned and called out to LiMu. LiMu, where did you run off to? The county magistrate has been looking for you all morning. There are several files waiting for you to organize. Master Ma has a grim face as he grits his teeth. Didn't you say the county magistrate was not around? LiMu said guiltily. Probably just returned. Uncle Ma was about to get angry, but then he heard a cold voice saying, Uncle Ma, why are you here? After a moment, Li Qing led Uncle Ma into the reception room and poured him a cup of tea, asking, Uncle Ma, is there any important matter for you to come to the county office? Uncle Ma finished the tea in one gulp and said, Wu Bo has passed away. The fifth sect has suffered quite a loss. It's not the county office's fault, but he still died in the line of duty after all. The county office must give an explanation. Isn't Magistrate Zhang there? Take me to find him.
LiMu muttered to Zhang Shan quietly.
Hurry, go tell the magistrate. After speaking, he acted like a little flatterer. Even Marshal Schur is tired of traveling. It's not too late to quench your thirst before going to see the magistrate. Masahukian drained the cup of tea presented by LiMu with respect and said, all right. I have had more than 10 cups already. LiMu frowned, knowing that he couldn't delay any longer. If it weren't for Zhang Shan accidentally betraying the county magistrate, there would be no need for you to keep pouring tea for me. At this moment, Zhang Shan finally found the county magistrate and told him everything that had happened. The county magistrate kicked him hard on the buttocks, and then asked him to invite Master Ma. At the front hall of the county yamen, County Magistrate Zhang welcomed him out with a smile on his face and said, Honored guest arrived. This county has been remiss in welcoming you from afar. Master Ma also did not hold back. The county magistrate is being polite. You're too kind, Magistrate Zhang said. The disaster of the zombies from Zhou County almost spread to our county. Thanks to the expert from the talisman-making faction. Master Ma looked at the tea poured by Magistrate Zhang. Cold sweat began to flow down. However, he said with a straight face, it's just what I should do. Those who cultivate themselves should naturally protect the common people. The county magistrate Zhang picked up the tea and said, Esteemed guest, since you've come from afar, why not taste the fine tea stored in our county? Uncle Ma had already drunk more than 10 cups of tea just now, but found it hard to refuse the magistrate's enthusiasm. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and forced himself to drink the tea. After drinking several more cups of tea in succession, his stomach was starting to feel bloated. He intended to bring up the matter of Wu Bo, but he was interrupted multiple times by Magistrate Zhang. Magistrate Zhang kept digressing and changing the subject, avoiding the issue at hand. He always prevented him from getting to the main point. Another cup of tea was consumed. Uncle Ma feels like his stomach is about to explode. He couldn't care less about his face and directly brought up the topic. The county magistrate is dissatisfied. This time I have come for the death of nephew Wu. Magistrate Zhang's face showed a look of sorrow as he spoke. The death of head constable Wu is also greatly regretted by our county. This is not just a loss to the talisman-making faction. It is also a loss to our Yangqiu County office. These days, every time I think of this, I feel heartbroken and indignant. I wish I could crush that zombie to dust and ashes. I am heartbroken. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have let him go to Zhou County at that time. Uncle Ma hurriedly said, This is not the fault of the county magistrate. The county magistrate doesn't need to blame himself. Magistrate Zhang wiped away his tears and said, Let's not talk about sad things. Here, friend Ma, have some tea. Uncle Ma shook his head repeatedly in fear. Can't drink anymore. Friend Zhang, I actually came to Yangqiu County this time to ask for a favor. Being messed up by Prefect Zhang, Wu Bo's matter has been completely forgotten by him. Prefect Zhang smiled and asked, I wonder what friend Ma is up to? Senior brother Ma sighed and said, Friend Zhang also knows about Wu Bo's talent. We consider him as a promising seedling and are focusing on nurturing him. Now that he has fallen, it is a great loss to us. I am coming down the mountain this time to ask Senior Zhang to help me find some good seedlings. County Magistrate Zhang was at a loss after hearing the words. In the eyes of cultivators, knowing someone's birth date is like holding onto their life. The court strictly prohibits non-officials from accessing household registrations. County Magistrate Zhang straightened up and said, Magistrate Ma, you wouldn't be unaware of this, right? This is strictly forbidden by the court, isn't it? Uncle Ma calmly took out a letter from his bosom and handed it to County Magistrate Zhang, saying, This is a letter from the prefect. Zhang Taoist can take a look first. County Magistrate Zhang opened the letter and, after confirming that there were no mistakes, looked at its contents. Uncle Ma said, It's not just about Yangqiu County. This time, all 13 county magistrates in the Northern Commandery have made exceptions. I think our talisman-making faction and the county magistrates should not all be distrusted, right? County Magistrate Zhang thought about it and said, although the talisman-making faction has made contributions to the stability of the North Commandery, this county can only allow you to check the household records for 3 years. Within the past 3 years, if there are newborns with special constitutions born in Yangqiu County, we can inform your faction. The official will no longer investigate beyond the 3-year time limit. Master Ma nodded. 3 years is sufficient, County Magistrate Zhang added. Moreover, only the constables of the Yangqiu County Yamen are allowed to check household registration information. Constable Li and Constable Han are both not allowed to participate. Uncle Ma also has no objections. Everything will be arranged by friend Zhang. LiMu only spent 2 hours at the Yamen today. And then he slipped back home. It's not that he was lazy. It's that Magistrate Zhang granted all cultivators in the county time off. LiMu was sunbathing when he suddenly looked up at the book. LiMu picked it up and only then realized that it said, Records of the Divine on top. He clearly remembered that there was a missing page in the middle of the Records of the Divine from the county office. Then he flipped through the book for a few pages and found that there was no missing page in the book. It seems that the Union Pavilion didn't know where they got this book from. LiMu randomly flipped through a few pages and saw that it was about the theory of yin and yang and the 5 elements. Moreover, there were annotations on it. LiMu couldn't help but read aloud. The physique of pure yin and pure yang is extremely rare, with 1 in 10,000 chances. If encountered, it's better to cultivate together and practice double cultivation. Otherwise, it would be a waste of the gift from heaven. After Lu Hanyin finished washing the clothes, she happened to overhear what LiMu said. LiMu cleared his throat and said, double cultivation is something that depends on feelings. Lu Hanyin sniffed lightly. What? Are you rejecting me? So many years have passed. Have you found your own feelings? LiMu asked in return. You haven't found them either, have you? Lu Hanyin retorted. Mine is because I don't want to look for them. It's different from someone. LiMu fired back directly. I also don't want to look for them. Lu Hanyin also bit directly. I see no one wants to be with you. Both sides are getting angry at each other. Everyone is upset. LiMu suddenly looked at Lu Hanyin and lightly nudged her elbow. You said a few years. If the two of us are still unmarried after all these years, then what about? Lu Hanyin raised an eyebrow. What do you think? LiMu sighed. Then we would be in a sorry state. Lu Hanyin spit out again. Thought you could say something meaningful. She finished speaking and turned to hang up the clothes. Can't be bothered with LiMu. LiMu let out a long sigh. Even Zhangshan can get married. I should have a chance to. I'll just continue reading. This page happens to be the one missing from the county government's records. Finally, it's connected. Original is the name for the 7th stage of Taoism. If cultivators can gather the yin-yang 5 elements Hunper and supplement it with a large amount of Hun and power, there is hope to advance to the original realm. LiMu felt a bit emotional. In evil cultivation, killing one person will result in being wanted by the authorities. Killing thousands has long been eradicated by the righteous sects. How can there still be a chance for advancement in cultivation? And to gather all the yin and yang 5 elements treasures, how could it be easy? So far, among the people he knows, there aren't many with this kind of constitution. Suddenly LiMu's pupil shrank as he realized something. He also knows quite a few people with special constitutions. And besides him and Lu Hanyin, no one has had a good outcome. Not right. Strictly speaking, he had also died once. The sun overhead was scorching. But suddenly, LiMu felt a cool breeze blowing around him. It made his whole body shiver. Lu Hanyin noticed that something was wrong with LiMu. She asked in confusion, What's wrong with you? LiMu chuckled twice and replied, It's nothing. But he couldn't hide the panic in his heart, despite his calm appearance. Zhao Yong and Ren Yuan both committed crimes. As for Wu Bo, he died at the hands of Fly Zombie. The cause of death of his predecessor is also unrelated to these individuals. It's even more difficult to relate this to the inside abstruse evil cultivation. Perhaps I am overly sensitive. LiMu wanted to relax himself. However, strangely, the bad premonition was growing stronger in his mind. Lu Hanyin muttered at this moment. Strange. However, a trace of worry could be seen on his face. I said, LiMu, this piece of clothing. The sentence was not finished yet. LiMu appeared behind her. Come with me for a trip. Lu Hanyin was puzzled. Where are we going? To the county yamen. What are we going to the county yamen for? Follow me first. I will explain to you later. Soon, the two of them walked out of the door. The reason LiMu brought Lu Hanyin along is because he knew that Lu Hanyin is of the purine physique. There are 7 elements in yin and yang 5 elements. 4 elements have already perished. If such a possibility exists, then her situation would be extremely dangerous. Only by keeping her by LiMu's side can we be at ease. LiMu and Lu Hanyin entered the county office soon. They happened to run into Hanja, Liqing, and Master Ma. Hanja asked, "Aren't you on duty? Why are you back again?" LiMu ignored Hanja and instead said to Liqing, "I'll take a look at something." At this moment, Lu Hanyin smiled and bowed to Liqing. Liqing, upon seeing Lu Hanyin, was briefly stunned. And then Liqing nodded slightly and returned to Lu Hanyin. Old man Wang is inside the room. Lu Hanyin asked with confusion, "Why did you call me to the county office? What's the matter?" LiMu said while searching through something, "You sit here for a while first. We'll talk about the other matters later." Soon, LiMu walked over carrying a stack of files. "Let's start investigating with these. If someone truly is gathering yin-yang and 5 elements for Hunpa cultivation, then it definitely includes the body of metal and the body of water. If these unresolved cases involve people with the body types corresponding to the 5 elements of yin and yang." Lu Hanyin saw LiMu's serious expression and did not ask further. Quietly sitting on the side. In the courtyard, Hanja's gaze has been on Liqing all along. In my heart, I silently thought, "LiMu, oh LiMu. Actually foolish enough to bring another woman to the county government office. It is obvious that Liqing cares a lot. See how you explain to Liqing later." But he kept smiling. Seems to have figured out something.
Liqing cares about LiMu.
This is not a good sign for herself either. Inside the house, LiMu has already calculated it. Among the people who died unexpectedly in Yangqiu County in the past 6 months, none had a special physique. This made him breathe a sigh of relief. The stone in his heart also dropped. It turns out he had overthought it. Lu Hanyin asked, "What are you calculating? It seems quite interesting." LiMu said, "According to the birth dates, I deduced their physique." Lu Hanyin suddenly became interested. "How do you calculate it? Teach me." LiMu handed her the book. "It's written on here. You see for yourself." Lu Hanyin sneered. She took the divine record and read it herself. LiMu took out several case files and said, "You can try to deduce these. They are all case files with no doubts." LiMu did not look at it again. It just happened to give Lu Hanyin a sense of achievement in learning new knowledge. LiMu leaned back in the chair and took a deep breath. What, inside Abstruse evil cultivation? What, original promotion? It's all about yin and yang, the 5 elements, and the transformation of tens of thousands of souls. Watching it made me tremble in fear. He leaned against the back of the chair, thinking about bringing Lu Hanyin to the yamen. How to explain to Liqing later. Maybe invite her to go home and have hot pot. Or maybe have spicy skewers. A moment later, Lu Hanyin exclaimed happily, "I figured it out. The one called Renyuan is body of wood. The one called Zhaoyong is body of fire. The one called Wu Bo is body of earth. The one called Zhang Defu is body of metal. The one called Wang Xiaowei is body of water." Lu Hanyin furrowed her brows and looked at LiMu skeptically, saying, "I've only counted a few. How come all 5 elements are complete? Is this book just written randomly?" LiMu's hand trembled. The teacup slipped from his hand and crashed to the ground, shattering with a loud bang. Lu Hanyin saw LiMu in such a panic. Without hesitation, he asked with concern, "What's the matter with you?" LiMu's face was covered with an expression of shock. "What did you just say? Where are body of metal and body of water?" Lu Hanyin lifted the file and said, "Here it is. Is there a problem?" LiMu grabbed the file and looked over. "Who is Zhang Dafu? It sounds a bit familiar." A voice suddenly exploded in LiMu's mind. The case of Zhangjia village instantly appeared in his mind. Squire Zhang. But how could Squire Zhang possibly be the body of metal? LiMu calculated quickly. The look of horror on his face did not diminish in the least. Because Lu Hanyin had not miscalculated. Squire Zhang was indeed the body of metal. Also, Wang Xiaowei. LiMu found that Wang Xiaowei is indeed body of water. However, the reason why the government did not investigate thoroughly. It is because after her death, Hunpa found herself and Liqing, proving that she did die of an illness. So far, the 5 elements of the body are all complete. Adding oneself, including the 7 types of yin and yang, Hunpa has 6 out of 7, only missing pure yin. This inside Abstruse cultivator took several months, or even longer, to set up a large formation in Yangqiu County, collecting the yin and yang 5 elements to upgrade the Hunpa to original. Also, if the death of the original body is part of this plan, after borrowing a body for reincarnation, isn't the person behind the scenes always watching over me? Thinking about this, a chill rose straight up LiMu's spine, making him feel a little dizzy. Lu Hanyin looked at him worriedly. "LiMu, are you okay? No matter what happened, please tell me, and we will face it together, okay?" LiMu sighed helplessly, opened the divine record, and pointed to the page's content. Pure yin, pure yang, and the 5 elements. These are the 7 kinds of innate constitutions. Inborn gathering of energy. Cultivation can achieve the work of several days for an ordinary person in just 1 day. The Hunpa of the 5 elements yin and yang also has the power of creation. If the inside Abstruse can be gathered together and combined with the hunpa of thousands of living beings to refine as one's own, there is a hint of the original opportunity. Lu Hanyin is originally intelligent. After seeing the description of the 5 elements yin and yang, he thought of what he had just calculated. Her face suddenly turned pale. She grabbed LiMu's sleeve and asked tentatively, could this be just a coincidence? Doesn't it also require the bodies of pure yin and pure yang? Suddenly, she thought of something and muttered softly, your 7 beads were lost before. LiMu breathed a sigh of relief and said, I'm afraid the only thing he lacks is the pure yin body. Lu Hanyin still couldn't believe it. The book says besides the yin and yang 5 elements, there is the hunpa. A large number of living people's hunpa is also needed. Where can we find thousands, or even tens of thousands of dead people? The government won't do it. She was talking and talking, then suddenly stopped. The two of them looked at each other. Both of their eyes showed shock at the same time. Zhou County. LiMu thought of those zombies without any sign of decay. The fly zombie even directly identified the no-action body of Earth. I'm afraid that at that time, the person behind only wanted the soul of the body of Earth. Wu Bo Lu Hanyin felt a chill run down her entire body. She held LiMu's hand and said tremblingly, LiMu, I'm a little scared. LiMu tightened his grip on her hand and comforted her. It's okay. No one knows your fate. You will be fine. At this moment, Li Qing and Hanja burst in. They happened to see LiMu and Lu Hanyin holding hands tightly. Hanja gloated with pleasure. Sorry for interrupting you. Li Qing's expression remained unchanged, but silently turned around and left. Hanja also turned around to leave. But before leaving, he asked, did you really choose Miss Lu after all? LiMu had no intention of answering him. He walked slowly out of the warehouse, looked up at the sky. The pain in his heart at this moment was beyond anyone's understanding. At this moment, Zhang Shan and Li Si walked out of the warehouse. Uncle Ma stepped forward eagerly and asked, any findings? Zhang Shan said, we found a purine body. It's a girl. Uncle Ma immediately asked, where is she? Zhang Shan shook his head. Unfortunately, you came at a bad time. That girl passed away 3 months ago.
LiMu's heart sank a bit.
His mind was filled with the words, premature death. He stormed up to Zhang Shan and asked, what did you say? Li Si murmured, what's wrong with you? A girl with a pure yin constitution in our county has died prematurely.
LiMu's body swayed.
Feeling dizzy all of a sudden, the 5 elements of yin and yang are now complete. Lu Hanyin quickly stepped forward to help support him. The look of worry on his face became even more pronounced. LiMu forced a bitter smile. Things have come to this point. Any fear is useless. He took a deep breath and said,
Infine.
Since Purine is already here, you don't need to worry anymore. Just go home first. Lu Hanyin knew that she couldn't help much. She nodded and said, you must take care of yourself. I will be waiting for you at home. She glanced at LiMu before leaving. He then turned around and left. LiMu absorbed a large amount of information in a short period of time. He couldn't bear it alone. He urgently wants to find a trusted person to share these with. Inside the room, Li Qing is sitting quietly at the table reading a book. After seeing LiMu come in, he asked lightly, did Miss Lu leave?
LiMu nodded.
Then he reminded, boss, you got your books mixed up. Li Qing, flustered, straightened the books and then restrained himself before asking calmly, is something the matter? LiMu flipped to that page in the Book of Supernatural Phenomena and asked, leader, take a look here. Li Qing took a glance at the content in the book, asked in confusion, do you want to find a woman with a pure yin body for dual cultivation? This is not allowed by the court. Even if Zhang Shan and the others find a woman with a pure yin body, they cannot tell you. Moreover, even if they could find one, your age may not be suitable either. LiMu said helplessly, it's not this sentence. It's the one below. The next sentence. Li Qing's gaze shifted down. She saw it written in the book. The 5 elements, yin and yang, hun and pu, they possess the power of creation. If inside Abstruse can be gathered together, aided by the multitude of living souls, hun and pu are refined and transformed as one's own. There is a hint of original opportunity. Li Qing glanced at him and said, are you worried about being seized by evil cultivation? Rest assured. Without knowing your birth date, no one can know your physique. LiMu placed the files of Zhao Yong and others on the table in front of her. Zhang Shan just found them. 3 months ago, a female baby with a pure yin body died in the Yangqiu County. There is also the disaster of zombies in Zhou County. Wu Bo's death. These cannot all be coincidences. Li Qing looked through the files one by one. His face gradually turned solemn. The balance of yin and yang is just missing pure yang. LiMu's face showed a serious expression as he spoke in a serious tone. Just one step away now. A hint of doubt appeared on Li Qing's face again. If there really is evil cultivation that requires the hunpa of yin and yang 5 elements, why do your 3 souls still exist? LiMu took a deep breath and said, Now that things have come to this point, there are some things I can no longer hide from the leader. Li Qing's face revealed an expression of disbelief. Do you mean? LiMu nodded and said, yes. I was supposed to have died. But the 3 souls were saved by a senior expert. The senior expert saw that I have a pure young body and said that we have a master-disciple relationship. He taught me many profound skills and divine abilities, and then left mysteriously. He said that we will meet again in the future if fate allows, and reminded me not to reveal his identity. Li Qing felt relieved. Your temperament changed drastically after you died once. You also understand all sorts of magical abilities and Taoist techniques. The Yamen did indeed suspect that someone had occupied your body, but now you can rest assured. No one will suspect you anymore. LiMu also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Seizing this opportunity to dispel Li Qing's suspicions is his true intention. Even though I don't know what happened to me, it must be much more advanced than occupying the body rebirth. Li Qing's attention returned to the matter itself. Very seriously said, this matter must be reported to the county magistrate immediately. LiMu thought for a moment and asked, could it be that what is written in this book is false? Li Qing shook her head and said, even if the content of this book is false. But someone is indeed using this book to lay out a plan. If that person needs the pure young Hunper, then they will definitely not let you go. They may come back. LiMu is very clear about this in his heart. The person behind it has already gotten everything he wanted. He sighed and said, this matter is not something we can decide. Let's report to the county magistrate immediately. County Yamen is just ahead. Magistrate Zhang is leisurely drinking tea. Yangqiu County has been very turbulent these months. Murders one after another. The magistrate is on edge all day long. This year's political achievement is not expected. Fortunately, there have been no major mistakes. Not bottoming out among the 13 counties in North County. At least much better than Zhou County. At this moment, a knocking on the door came from outside the hall. County Magistrate Zhang said faintly, come in. LiMu immediately stepped forward and paid his respects. We have important matters to report to the official in the capital. County Magistrate Zhang frowned. But what special physique did Zhang, Shan, Li, and Si discover? LiMu shook his head repeatedly. Not this. Magistrate Zhang broke out in a cold sweat. But another homicide occurred in the county? LiMu kept shaking his head. This is also incorrect. Magistrate Zhang breathed a sigh of relief. It's good that there wasn't a homicide. What exactly happened? LiMu was afraid of startling Magistrate Zhang. He kindly reminded him. Why don't you sit down first, sir? Magistrate Zhang leaned back in his chair and said calmly. What are you talking about? Do you think I'm easily scared? Who do you think I am? I've seen it all. What happened exactly? Hurry up and tell me. LiMu thought to himself impatiently. Don't blame me if I scare you. You asked me to tell you. LiMu said immediately. We found some clues. Very likely there is a peek inside Abstruse evil cultivator. We have gathered the Hunper with the bodies of Yin, Yang, and the 5 elements in our county. They are also driving zombies to slaughter the people in Zhou County to collect Hunpa. They want to refine them to advance to the original realm. County Magistrate Zhang, caught off guard, spurted out a mouthful of tea. His whole body slipped from the chair to the ground. His crotch became wet. Without caring to wipe it off, he hastily got up from the ground and asked, what did you say? Say it again. LiMu placed several case files on the table and said, in the past 6 months, there have been 7 people in Yangqiu County who possess the bloodline of pure Yin and pure Yang, as well as the constitution of the 5 elements. They have all died due to various reasons, and their deaths all have suspicious circumstances. We suspect that someone is behind this manipulation. Magistrate Zhang chuckled and said, a coincidence. It must be a coincidence. Magistrate Zhang pointed to several files and said, take a look at these. Wang died of illness. It was handled by both of you. Zhao Yong and Ren Yuan were personally supervised by the official. Zhang, the squire, was bitten to death by his zombie father. As for Wu Bo, it's even more nonsense. He was bitten to death by a fly zombie. LiMu explained what is the matter with inside Abstruse evil cultivation. The case of Ren Yuan seems suspicious. It appears that someone deliberately guided his cultivation to lead him astray. By using the pretext of the Yamen, they obtained his Hunpa. In this way, even if Ren Yuan has a body of wood, no one will suspect otherwise. And in Zhou County, the deaths of Wu Bo and thousands of people in Zhou County were not accidental. Magistrate Zhang still did not believe it. As soon as the executioner's blade fell, his soul scattered away. How did the evil cultivation obtain his soul? Li Qing asked. For practitioners of insight abstruse cultivation, it is not difficult to extract their souls before the executioner executes them. Ren Yuan and Zhang Squire are the same. It is because of a legitimate reason that we overlooked their special constitution. The feng shui master who helped Zhang Squire choose the tomb and Ren Yuan's master must have a problem. LiMu has started to suspect. Magistrate Zhang shook his head. Even if the five elements theory can explain this, what about pure yang and pure yin? It's not that I don't trust you. This matter is of great importance, said LiMu. Zhang Shan and Li Si have just found out. 3 months ago, a baby girl with a pure yin body died in Yangqiu County. Infant mortality is a common occurrence. Her family did not report the case, and the authorities did not investigate. As for a pure yang body, I am. Magistrate Zhang expressed doubt. But aren't you standing here just fine? LiMu looked at Magistrate Zhang and said, a few months ago, there was a demon who wanted to take my Hunpa. I was lucky to survive by chance. Although the 3 Huns have returned to the body, 7 Pas have been lost. Magistrate Zhang was paralyzed in the chair. How could this happen? He was inexplicably targeted by an inside abstruse evil cultivation. They have set up such a huge chess game within my jurisdiction. Everyone, including me, has been treated as pawns and manipulated at will. Covering his face, he sadly said, what mess have I gotten myself into? Ah, my goodness. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have taken on this wretched county magistrate position. Whoever wants it, can have it. Nothing good happens. I've encountered all the bad stuff. LiMu looked at him helplessly and said, now is not the time for regret. We should think about what to do next. Zhang County Magistrate sighed. He spread out these files. There are still several doubts in this case so far. Zhao Yong was favored by the county magistrate. He killed his fiancée Lin Wan for his future, and finally threw her body into Baishui Water Bay. Later, Lin Wan turned into a vengeful spirit seeking revenge. When investigating the case, you learned about the injustice suffered by Lin Wan. It was only after a thorough investigation that the subsequent case of Zhao Yong occurred. He was executed at the market. This case couldn't have been orchestrated by humans. LiMu nodded and said, Zhao Yong's death indeed shows no traces of external intervention. Magistrate Zhang continued, let's assume that someone could take away their Hunpua before the executioner kills them. But how would this person know that they have a special constitution? LiMu thought for a moment and said, inside Abstruse can observe astrology and divination. Perhaps there is some way to figure this out. Of course. There is another possibility, County Magistrate Zhang asked. Do you suspect there is a mole in the yamen? LiMu nodded and said, this possibility cannot be ruled out. But it's also possible that he broke into the household, they said. We have checked a large number of household registration documents. Simple, County Magistrate Zhang pondered. That's true. No one except Old Man Wang can access the people's household registration. Old Man Wang has been in the yamen his whole life. No matter who has an issue, he couldn't possibly have an issue. You said you have the pure yang body?
LiMu nodded.
Magistrate Zhang spoke up and asked, in the pure yang body, the activation of the Hunpur is the most crucial step in this practice. But your Hunpur is still inside your body. Doesn't this mean that the evil cultivation's attempt to seize the Hun has failed? LiMu has long had an explanation for this. When my Hun was seized, a predecessor saved me just in time. It took a lot of effort for my Hunpur to return to my body. County Magistrate Zhang expressed doubts. Predecessor? Which predecessor? What is his name? LiMu was about to speak. He said his name is Laozi. Not only did he save me, but he also taught me some divine techniques. County Magistrate Zhang asked, can you prove that you are fine? LiMu looked at Li Qing and said, the leader can prove it. Li Qing nodded and said, we explored it a few months ago. LiMu was not occupied by anyone, and he does have some supernatural abilities. Magistrate Zhang removed his gaze from LiMu. He no longer suspected him, whether it was occupying a body or possession. It is impossible to completely fit into someone else's body in a short period of time. Even the inside abstruse cultivation individuals cannot achieve perfect body occupation. Is there a simple magical tool to detect occupied bodies? County Magistrate Zhang said, so, are you saying he has not obtained the pure young spirit yet? He is very likely to come back and find you?
LiMu nodded.
But it is also possible that he has found another pure young spirit. County Magistrate Zhang breathed a sigh of relief. This matter is of great importance. Don't reveal it yet. Investigate in secret. Wait until the investigation is thoroughly clear before making the final decision. Also, don't tell anyone about the pure young physique. Are you afraid of having a long life? LiMu felt quite helpless. I am just doing this for the case. Magistrate Zhang waved his hand. The two of you should start investigating the cases immediately. The official gives you 3 days. We must investigate all the clues thoroughly. Soon the two of them walked out of the front hall. LiMu still had some worries. Boss, do you think we are overthinking all of this? The main issue is that LiMu hasn't refined any of the 7 Pa. With his current demeanor, how can he face inside Abstruse? Even if he merges with Sewer, he wouldn't stand a chance against him. Li Qing comforted, don't worry. If there is really an inside Abstruse evil cultivation, the talisman-making faction will not stand idly by. They will definitely send the Peak Masters down the mountain to eradicate it, Li Qing said firmly. Then she added, "And I will absolutely not allow anyone to harm you." LiMu composed himself. No matter how anxious or fearful he may be, you still have to face it. It's not that easy to take my life. At this moment, Hanja stood in the courtyard. He watched as the two figures walked away. He had thought LiMu would bring the woman back to the yamen, becoming a hurdle he couldn't overcome in Li Qing's view. He never expected that they would act as if nothing had happened at all. Hanja suddenly realized that he didn't understand women at all. Or is it that LiMu's methods are too clever? Li Si happened to pass by at this moment. Hanja ignored face and directly went up to pull him. "Li Si, I have a question for you." Li Si frowned. "It's rare for Officer Han to want to have a heart-to-heart chat with me. Go ahead, ask." Hanja immediately spoke. "You are the best at this kind of thing, right? How can one be as likable as LiMu to win a woman's affection?" Li Si pondered and replied, "First, you have to be as handsome as him." Hanja frowned and asked, "What if you're not as good-looking as him?" Li Si said, "In that case. Or you can have a lot of money." Hanja's heart felt a chill. "What if I also don't have money?" Li Si did not answer him. Instead, she gave him a smile, letting him understand on his own. Wang family village in the western part of the city. Wang Dong held a baby in his arms, looking puzzled. "How did you both come here?" LiMu asked proactively. "The yamen is currently reviewing the cases that happened this year. We would like to know some details about the matter concerning the younger sister." Speaking of the Wang family, Wang Dong revealed with sadness, "My poor sister. Shortly after getting married, her husband ran off to become a monk. When she was still pregnant, her in-laws also abandoned her. It's a pity that she had to manage the household and her health by herself, which eventually wore her out." Li Qing asked, "How could her despicable brother-in-law be so heartless?" Wang Dong nodded. "Her health has always been poor. At the time, I advised her to remarry. She refused to find another man to take care of her. If I had known earlier, I would never have let her stay at home alone like that." Soon after, LiMu walked out of Zhangjiakan with a look of melancholy. Wang's death, if it hadn't been linked to several unrelated cases, combine it with the records of the strange again. Indeed, one can't smell the eerie stuff behind it. The magnificent cultivators of Insight Abstruse Cultivation can assume a false form and emit mist. They know the timing and count of stars. They are just one step away from entering the upper three realms. Those who can walk horizontally on the land of the 10 continents are surprisingly cautious to the extreme. It's simply unreasonable. The two walked all the way and soon arrived at Qin family village. Li Qing said, "This is the village where the pure young physique girl died young. The girl's family lives in the third house on the left-hand side." The two soon found the residential house. LiMu stepped forward and knocked on the wooden door. Before long, a woman opened the courtyard gate and asked, "Do the two officials have any business?" asked LiMu. "We need your cooperation to investigate a case," said LiMu. The woman looked puzzled. "What case?" LiMu asked.
I'm sorry.
"This may bring up painful memories for you. But this case is of great importance. We hope you can answer truthfully. We would like to ask, how did your daughter die?" The woman's face showed a look of sadness. "My poor daughter died of an illness. She fell ill 4 months ago. My family had no money for medical treatment. We only used some local herbal remedies, but they were not effective. After suffering for a month, she passed away," asked LiMu. "What about the body?" The woman sobbed a few times and replied, "It was wrapped in a mat and buried in the backyard. I have already reported to the yamen. Are there any other questions?" LiMu sighed and said, "No more questions."
Sorry.
At this moment, Li Qing noticed an old woman beside them. She clearly looked relieved. Could there still be something fishy about this? LiMu sighed and said, "Yet another case with no doubts. Let's move on to the next place." Li Qing suddenly spoke. "Wait a minute." She took a few steps forward and looked at the old woman, asking, "The girl did not die of illness." The old woman's eyes flickered briefly. "Why are you talking like this, young girl? How did that wretched person die if not of an illness?" Li Qing's eyes flashed with a glimmer of gloom. The old woman's body trembled. Her expression gradually became dull. Li Qing looked at her and asked again, "How did she die?" The old woman's expression turned dull as she murmured. "The fortune teller said she was an ominous lonely star, causing the death of her parents and relatives. I looked it up in a book. The book also says this. So I poisoned her." The man in the courtyard's face showed an incredulous expression. "Mother, it's really you. You killed Nanny." The woman trembled and held back her tears, saying in a trembling voice, "Give my child back to me." As she spoke, she stepped forward to pull the old woman. At this moment, the old woman fell down in response. The person lying unconscious on the ground knew nothing. Li Qing's face was cold like frost as she said in a cold voice, "Foolish woman," said LiMu. "Keep a cool head. We will report this matter to the authorities after we return. Master Zhang will handle it." After speaking, he looked at the disheveled woman. You can rest assured. The Yamen will definitely give you justice. Leaving Congeal village. LiMu collected himself. What kind of bullshit fortune teller? He doesn't have to lift a finger. A sentence about an unlucky star causing this girl with a pure Een body to die young. Obtained her Hunper easily in a way that would not arouse suspicion. An inside Abstruse peak cultivation practitioner. To avoid drawing attention, quietly collected the Hunpur of the 5 elements of Yin and Yang. When is so much trouble to set up such a scheme? LiMu felt deeply powerless. You really are quite timid. LiMu and Li Qing's third destination was Zhang village. The young Squire Zhang in Zhang village still remembers the two of them. Worriedly asked LiMu if zombies were coming out to harm people again. LiMu smiled and said, "There won't be any more zombies. I just have a question to ask you about your father, Zhang Defu. Have you ever cultivated Taoist cultivation before?" The young Squire Zhang nodded and said yes. When my father was young, he cultivated with the Taoist priest from the White Deer Monastery for 2 years. In the end, he couldn't stand the loneliness of the cultivation. He couldn't leave behind the family's industry, so he came down the mountain and went home. The Taoist priest said it was a pity about my father's aptitude. He said he is gold something. LiMu added, "Body of metal." Zhang Shao Squire nodded repeatedly and said, yes, it's body of metal. The two of them shared a knowing glance. In their hearts, there was a bit more certainty about each other. At this moment, Li Qing said, "By the way, LiMu, have you learned to read tombs during this time?" LiMu asked. "During this time, weren't you supposed to cooperate with Zhang County Magistrate to promote civilized funerals? I've made up for a lot of feng shui knowledge. Even if I'm not a constable anymore, I can still work as a feng shui master. I can help people with grave sites and residences." Li Qing gave him a stern look. "You don't want to be a constable anymore?" LiMu was startled. He felt that something was off in the atmosphere and quickly explained. "How is that possible? I want to work with the boss for a lifetime." Li Qing blushed at the words, repeatedly murmuring the phrase, "for a lifetime," in her heart. At this moment, Zhang Shao Squire spoke. "To adults, this is where my grandfather's tomb is located. My grandfather is over 80 years old. Although he doesn't have any serious illness and is not very strong, it can be considered a blessing to die of old age." LiMu looked at Zhang Dafu's tombstone, with traces of freshly filled soil. He vaguely sensed something was wrong. Was this tomb arranged by the feng shui master? Zhang Squire shook his head and said, "No, the feng shui master came on his own. He said he would calculate for us for free. When father heard there was no charge, he agreed." LiMu looked at the tomb and walked towards it. Then he glanced at a mountain not far away and shook his head. "The white tiger is passing through. This is an extremely unlucky tomb." Old man Wang glanced at him. "You haven't even learned how to climb, yet you're already thinking about flying? It's better to be honest and down to earth. First, refine the body, then condense the soul. Don't inquire about things you shouldn't. Once your mood is disturbed, it's hard to recover. Your cultivation path will be ruined." LiMu said, "I was just asking out of curiosity. Speaking of inside Abstruse cultivation, those who have projection screen, does it mean that you can see whatever you want to see?" Old man Wang smiled broadly. "What are you thinking, kid? Are you trying to peek at young girls bathing?"
LiMu huffed.
"No, I'm not. Just asking. Do you even know or not?" Old man Wang pursed his lips and said, "Getting shy now, huh? Okay, I'll just tell you then. It's called a projection screen. In fact, it's projecting the image of one place to another. First, the projection screen needs to be close enough for it to work. Secondly, you have to calculate the position. Without calculating other people's positions, you won't be able to figure out anything. Lastly, projection screen is of no use to cultivators above blessing level, because they can sense whether someone is peeping on them. It's very easy to break through their projection screen. So, this is a somewhat useless power, unless you use it to peep on the girl next door while she's showering." LiMu never thought about peeping on Lu Hanyin while she's showering. He swears he wouldn't dare. He just wants to learn more about inside Abstruse. LiMu asked again. "It is said that inside Abstruse can predict everything with just a calculation. Is it true?" Old man Wang clicked his tongue. "This is not false, but it's not that mysterious either. The mystery of fate is elusive and ethereal. Who dares to claim that they can figure out the mystery of fate?" At this moment, Zhang Shan walked in from outside. "LiMu, there is a monk outside looking for you."
LiMu suddenly remembered.
He had also made an appointment for Xian, due to heal the injuries of the senior abbot. Xian Du stood in the courtyard and saluted LiMu. "Master Li, I need your help again." LiMu was just about to return the gesture. Suddenly, several streaks of light appeared above their heads. The lights swiftly landed at the entrance of the county yamen, revealing a few figures within. Among the figures, there were 3 people. One of them was Master Ma, whom LiMu had seen before. At that moment, he was standing respectfully behind the other 2 people. Xian Du put his hands together and bowed to the middle-aged man who was leading the group. I am Shindu. I have met Senior Shinjinzi before, he said respectfully. The middle-aged man asked, Are you Shindu from the Golden Mountain Temple? Shindu nodded and replied, Yes, I am. How is Master Puji? Abbot, Fazhong, is concerned and misses you. The abbot is in good health. A middle-aged man's face revealed a hint of regret. Since the last parting, they have not seen each other again. Master Puji's foundation was harmed by that ever-changing expert. All the cultivation was destroyed. They thought that the evil cultivation had already scattered and vanished. However, they did not expect that it escaped again. Xuandu's expression changed. What? The ever-changing expert is not dead yet? The middle-aged man sighed. Not only is he not dead, but he also gathered the yin-yang 5 elements Hunpur and a large amount of life force from the living. I'm afraid he has already restored his cultivation base. He will be even more formidable than last time. Shindu still said incredulously. There were so many experts surrounding the nest that time. Both the Buddhist and Taoist factions each had a 6th-level expert. There are also more than 10 5th-level cultivators. How could he possibly escape? The middle-aged man looked at Shindu and said, That ever-changing expert is one of the 10 elders of the demon sect. He is very cunning. His most adept skill is the technique of dividing the soul. Last time, he escaped by using the soul division technique. He is now hiding in Yangqiu County. He also masterminded the zombie disaster in Zhou County, obtaining a large amount of living souls. He has already gathered the Hunpur of the 5 elements of yin and yang. He can restore himself to his former peak just by using the formation to refine the souls. This time, one disciple from the talisman-making faction has died. The sect leader personally cast a divination. It was determined that he died at the hands of the ever-changing expert. Shindu recited a Buddhist chant. Committed such a sin. This calamity cannot be tolerated by heaven's mandate. Soon, Liqing and Hanja walked out of the yamen. He immediately bowed in respect upon seeing this middle-aged man. I have seen the sect leader Shinjinzi. LiMu was taken aback. This middle-aged man who seemed ordinary at first glance turned out to be one of the leaders of the talisman-making faction. Shinjinzi nodded slightly at them. Looking at the middle-aged beauty, he said, Let me introduce you. This is Master Miaoqin from the mysterious faction. The two bowed in greeting. Nice to meet you, Master Miaoqin, LiMu said, eyeing the beautiful woman. The mysterious faction and the talisman-making faction are both among the 6 major sects of the Taoist sect. Although not very proficient in making talismans, but the mystique of Taoist cultivation surpasses the sum of the other 5 sects combined. Shinjinzi looked at Hanja and said, Take us to see the magistrate Yangqiu. Although Hanja did not understand, but he still obediently walked to the door to show the way. At this time, Shindu said, I'm sorry, little friend. I'm afraid I have to make you wait for a while. I need to first understand the news about the ever-changing expert. LiMu nodded. That's okay. After speaking, he looked at Liqing beside him and asked, Boss, have you heard of the ever-changing expert? Liqing said, I have mentioned to you before that it was the collaboration of masters from the Buddhist and Taoist sects that defeated him. It was the inside abstruse evil cultivation. LiMu's expression changed and he muttered. So it was him. It seems he was the one who killed LiMu, and he was the one who cast the fortune-telling for the pure Yin baby girl. He was the one controlling the zombies in Zhou County. His purpose in doing these things was to heal injuries. The root of all this was the siege against the ever-changing expert half a year ago. In order to completely exterminate the ever-changing expert, the talisman-making faction has sent out the heads of the 5th and 7th veins this time. Shinjinzi is the head of the 5th vein. The head of the 7th vein is Yu Quanzi. I have already gone to pursue the fly zombie. This made LiMu feel a lot relieved. He does not believe in the 3 experts of inside abstruse, but he cannot defeat an opponent with the same level of inside abstruse evil cultivation. A quarter of an hour later, Shinjinzi looked at the dossier compiled by LiMu and Liqing and said, It seems the fly zombie that Elder Wu was chasing is the ever-changing expert. There is no time to lose. Let's meet up with fellow Taoist Yu Quanzi as soon as possible. Once the ever-changing expert fully recovers his cultivation, I'm afraid he won't be able to deal with it alone. Shinjinzi thought for a moment and continued. Who is the person with the pure yang body involved in this case? Zhang County Magistrate looked at LiMu.
LiMu.
LiMu immediately stepped forward and saluted. I am here. Shinjinzi looked at LiMu. His pupils suddenly turned golden. LiMu was startled, but there was no abnormality in his own body. At this moment, Zuanzinzi's face showed a strange expression as he said, To escape from the hands of the ever-changing expert. The young friend has a deep blessing. I wonder if you are interested in joining my talisman-making faction? Hanja's heart trembled as he listened from the side. LiMu is going to join the talisman-making faction? Then won't I have even less opportunity? Taoist Miaoqin chuckled and said, If you don't like the talisman-making faction, you can also join my mysterious faction. The mysterious faction has thousands of Taoist cultivation methods for you to choose from. Xianzhenzi helplessly said, Friend Miaochen, how can you be so aggressive in recruiting people? Miaochen Taoist smiled gracefully. I am just speaking the truth. My mysterious faction has many Taoist cultivation methods suitable for his physique. It is more suitable for him than your talisman-making faction. LiMu watched the two arguing individuals with a calm heart. Xianzhenzi was obviously exploring whether he has been occupied body just now. This made him worried for a moment. Now it seems that even the insight abstruse cultivation practitioners cannot see through his spiritual soul. LiMu smiled and said, Thank you, two Taoist masters, for your kindness. I don't want to join any sect for now. Hanja breathed a sigh of relief at these words. It's okay, but it seems that Miss Li Qing is very disappointed. Not long after, LiMu and Xiandu returned to the Golden Mountain Temple. Suddenly, Xiandu said, Since Senior Li is not interested in the talisman-making faction and the mysterious faction, you can consider joining the Heart Sect. By then, this monk can recommend you to enter the ancestral hall of the Heart Sect. Even if you are the ever-changing expert, Hunper will also not dare to come to you again. LiMu felt helpless in his heart. This monk sensed that his intention to persuade LiMu to become a monk had not died yet. However, he still smiled and declined, saying, There are 3 powerful inside abstruse experts here. That evil cultivator cannot escape death. Master Xuandu's worry is unnecessary. After treating the abbot, LiMu turned around and headed back to the county office in Yangqiu. Just as he entered the duty room, everyone else was gaming. LiMu sighed. They still didn't know what had happened. Sometimes ignorance is also a kind of bliss, because they don't know anything. They don't have to face this fear at all. Li Qing asked casually while sitting in the chair. Why are you unwilling to join the sect? This will be very beneficial for your future cultivation. LiMu sat down with a thud and said, I think it's fine the way it is now. Reading books every day, patrolling around. Yaman has 3 good friends. Going home to a silly and cute girl. If not being targeted by evil cultivation. Such days are very pleasant. On the contrary, within the sect, the scheming for resources is a common sight. Any slight carelessness can lead to being schemed against in a dark plot. Think about senior brother Qin.
LiMu suddenly exclaimed.
Now in the evening, there are still people to help him massage his back and knead his shoulders. He can also listen to Lu Hanyin playing the piano and singing. It's much more interesting than hiding in the mountains for ascetic practices. Li Qing lowered his head and stopped talking, with a hint of disappointment in his eyes. It turns out that he didn't want to join the sect because of Miss Lu. 3 powerful insight abstruse experts are chasing after that evil cultivator. This allows LiMu to breathe a sigh of relief for the time being. He leaves the guard room and goes to Old Man Wang's place. He randomly picked up a book to read. After a moment, Old Man Wang walked in from outside and asked, LiMu, have you refined the 4th pu? LiMu nodded. I have already refined it. Old Man Wang said, It's not easy to refine the last 3 pu. Let me teach you a good method. It can help you quickly refine the last 3 pu. Do you want to learn? LiMu instantly felt invigorated. What a good idea. Old Man Wang smiled proudly. The 7 emotions arise from the 7 pu: joy, anger, sorrow, fear, love, hate, desire. The last 3 pu are born from the emotions of love, hate, and desire. You can dispel the last 3 pu by deceiving women to obtain their emotions and bodies. This way, they will love you first and then hate you. Meanwhile, there is desire in between. Let you directly condense these 3 pu. Skip the refining process. LiMu said angrily. I thought you could come up with some good ideas. Do you think I am Li Si? I can't do such a thing. Old Man Wang said. It's precisely because you are not Li Si. That's why you can do it. Women who have slept with Li Si never hate him. He cannot absorb hatred. LiMu firmly refused. I absolutely won't do this kind of morally corrupt and heavenly condemned thing. I will continue to cultivate myself slowly. If he deceives the feelings and bodies of so many girls, how will Lu Hanyin look at him? How will Wan look at him? How will Li Qing look at him? Old Man Wang said regretfully. You insist on using brute force instead of using your brain for something. This is not illegal. It's a waste of your face. LiMu doesn't care about the Tao. In that case, I would rather make more money and marry several wives. Anyway, it is reasonable and legal. LiMu still has no intention of taking shortcuts. Isn't it better to make money honestly and marry a wife honestly? If lucky, he might marry someone with a higher cultivation level than him. For example, someone like Li Qing. One is enough. Above a dense forest in some place, a middle-aged man is walking in mid-air. His steps pause for a moment. In the next moment, his face suddenly changes drastically. His body transforms into a stream of light and quickly flies away into the distance. At this moment, suddenly, more than a dozen pillars of light rose from the trees below. The light pillars were extremely thick. In an instant, They connected together to form a huge light shield that enveloped him. A steady stream of magical power was continuously input into the light shield, making the light shield's light even more dazzling. The middle-aged man in the light shield let out a roar towards the sky, bursting out with a strong stench of death from the body, instantly filling the space with light shield and countering that golden light. At the same time, 3 strong auras also appeared outside the light shield. Xianzhenzi smiled and said, "Friend Miaoqin's divination skills have reached a high level. He can even calculate his destined path. The Taoist cultivation of the mysterious faction is truly mysterious." Miaoqin chuckled lightly. "Your sect's talismanic techniques have broadened my horizons. Being able to use talismans to trap this corpse in the formation is impressive. Otherwise, he would have escaped if he had focused his mind on it. We may not necessarily be able to keep him here. This talisman formation is already no less inferior to the top formations of the spiritual array sect," the old man said in a deep voice. Junior brother Miaoqin from Xianzhenzi maintained control of the grand formation. His injuries have not fully healed yet. Take this opportunity to completely refine him. If even a strand of his soul escapes, it will lead to another catastrophe. Taoist Miaoqin curled his lips in disdain. "Is your senior apprentice really strict?" Xianzhenzi sighed helplessly. "Who said he wasn't? Let's finish the work first before talking." On the grand array, strong magical fluctuations spread continuously in all directions on the grand array. Within several dozen miles, whether it is uncivilized wild beasts or monsters that have already shaped their embryos of consciousness, all of them are crouching on the ground, trembling in fear. Yuntai County. Countless cultivators also sensed this surge of power. However, the county magistrate of Yuntai had long warned them not to approach that area. Designate an area with a radius of 50 miles as a forbidden zone for cultivators. The fluctuations of power inside the forbidden zone lasted for a full 3 days. After the 3 days, only when everything suddenly calmed down did daring cultivators cautiously fly over. Upon reaching the edge of the forbidden zone, they were shocked to find that at the center of the forbidden zone, several miles in all directions, the trees were withered, the mountains and stones shattered, and there were no living creatures nor any spiritual energy of heaven and earth. "It's like a dead land." On this side of the Yangqiu County Yamen, County Magistrate Zhang smiled knowingly. "LiMu, there is some good news from our county to tell you." LiMu looked hesitant and asked, "What is it? Could it be news about the ever-changing expert?" Magistrate Zhang nodded. 3 days ago, the 3 inside Abstruse experts from the talisman-making faction and mysterious faction successfully tracked down the ever-changing expert who had fled to Yuntai County. The 3 of them pooled their efforts to trap the ever-changing expert using a formation, and then successfully refine the ever-changing expert alive. "LiMu, you have made great contributions this time. If you hadn't timely exposed the plot of the ever-changing expert, the evil cultivation, which has committed numerous evil deeds, wouldn't have been discovered so easily. After the county magistrate finishes handling the situation in Zhou County, your commendation should also come down." As soon as he finished, he added in his mind, "As the county magistrate, merits and demerits offset each other. There is no need to worry about being held accountable afterwards." LiMu said carelessly, "Praising these are all trivial matters. To be able to escape from the evil cultivation at the peak of inside Abstruse is remarkable. I am already very satisfied." LiMu left the county soon after. Unable to wait, he hurried home to tell Lu Hanyin the news. The two went to the market together to buy some chicken, duck, fish, and additional dishes. Soothe the anxious heart these days. On the way, Lu Hanyin still has uncertain questions. Did inside Abstruse evil cultivation really disappear? LiMu nodded. Absolutely certain. No matter how powerful he is, he cannot take on 3 opponents at once. This time, thanks to your book. Otherwise, I'm afraid no one would know the conspiracy of that evil cultivation. LiMu paused as he spoke. Coincidentally, they ran into Zhang Shan and Li Si, who were preparing to eat noodles at a stall. Lu Hanyan's mood was clearly very good today. She smiled at the two and invited them over. "2 constables, do you want to come to my house for a meal?" Zhang Shan looked at the chicken and fish in Limu's hands. He then glanced at the noodle stall not far away. "All right, Li Si, we don't need to go eat noodles. Let's go directly to Limu's house." Li Si shook his head. "No need for the trouble. Let's just eat noodles." Lu Hanyan smiled and said, "It's not troublesome at all. You work so hard patrolling every day, all for the people of Yangqiu County. Besides, you are Limu's friends. Let's go." Zhang Shan quickly urged. "That's right. With chicken and fish, why bother with noodles?" That's it. Li Si was forcibly dragged to Limu's house. But they hadn't walked for long when they saw the lonely Li Qing on the road. Zhang Shan said, "Isn't that our leader up ahead? Should we also call the leader?" At this moment, Limu also hesitated and was caught in a dilemma. Lu Hanyin walked up directly with quick steps, said a few words to Li Qing, and it seemed that Li Qing agreed to her invitation. Lisi forced a bitter smile and quietly fretted for LiMu. It's a tough situation. He looked at LiMu and asked, what do you think? But who knew that LiMu played dead directly? What do you think? Is it because the food she bought wasn't enough? Lisi was also too lazy to bother with him anymore. Take care of yourself. After returning home, Zhang Shan volunteered to kill the chicken and fish. LiMu and Lu Hanyan are preparing in the kitchen. Li Qing walked over and asked, can I help with anything?
LiMu left.
If there's nothing urgent, you can chop these vegetables. Cooking may be a bit challenging for Li Qing, but chopping vegetables is a piece of cake for her. The knife is like an extension of her hand. LiMu can only see after images. The tofu she cuts is so uniformly sized. It looks like it was carved out by a mold. LiMu was a little stunned. Even the top chefs in future generations might not have this kind of knife skills. At this moment, Lu Hanyan pushed LiMu out. There are enough of us here. You go chat with Chief Zhang and the others. LiMu walked out of the kitchen. Sit down next to Zhang Shan. Zhang Shan looked up and asked, success? LiMu asked in return. Take down what? Why are you and Lisi acting weird? Just keep saying things I don't understand. Zhang Shan secretly glanced towards the kitchen and whispered, still pretending to be confused with me. Of course it's Miss Lu. Who else could it be? LiMu shook his head and said, you've got it wrong. We just have a normal neighborly relationship. Zhang Shan's face was full of disbelief. Which normal neighbors go grocery shopping together and share a meal from the same pot? LiMu shrugged. Believe it or not, Zhang Shan said somewhat displeased. You want to deceive me? Ask Lisi. Do you and Miss Lu look like a married couple? Lisi said with a cold expression. Not quite. Innkeeper Lu has a very guarded heart. LiMu has not yet made his way into her heart. They can only be described as good friends. Not to mention like, LiMu said, did you see that? That's the difference between you and Lisi. We are just very pure friends. Speaking of purity, LiMu can guarantee that he has a very pure relationship with Lu Hanyan. But Lu Hanyan may not necessarily feel the same way about him. She may actually have ulterior motives towards me. Lisi glanced at LiMu and said, for people like you too, even if there's no love at first sight, eventually, feelings will develop over time. Zhang Shan snorted at Lisi's words. That's not necessarily true. My wife and I have been together for so long, but we still don't have feelings for each other. Lisi mercilessly retorted. Does your wife even count as a woman? Zhang Shan stood there dumbfounded, instinctively wanting to speak up and argue back. But he didn't know what to say. Lisi continued. Innkeeper Lu didn't know what was on his mind, but that little maid really liked LiMu very much. These young girls are best to deceive. LiMu jumped up to retort. Don't talk nonsense. I have never deceived her. She is just repaying my kindness. Lisi ignored him. Instead, looking at Li Qing in the kitchen, he said, also, boss, I've noticed something strange in your eyes lately. LiMu asked, what's wrong, boss? And what do you mean by let me fend for myself? Lisi shook his head and said, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. LiMu was a bit speechless. Why do you always speak halfway? Most of today's meals were made by Lu Hanyan. Zhang Shan praised Lu Hanyan's cooking skills while eating, saying they were excellent. He complimented her while eating. I didn't expect that Miss Lu's cooking skills are so good. If my partner had half of your cooking skills, I would die content. If a man marries you in the future, it's truly like inheriting 8 generations of virtue from his ancestors. Lu Hanyan gave a faint smile. Oh no, not at all, Zhang Shan said. Really? Some girls nowadays lack the skills of traditional women. Not good at cooking, but each one is better than the next in handling a knife and sword. There aren't many people like Miss Lu. Beautiful, skilled in cooking, and wealthy. LiMu cleared his throat lightly. Remind him not to say too much. Didn't you see the boss is also here? The boss is not good at cooking or housekeeping. Zhang Shan glanced at LiMu and said, LiMu, why do you keep coughing? Did I say something wrong? A woman should be like Miss Lu. LiMu gave him a kick under the table directly. At this point, Lisi couldn't bear to watch and gave him a look. Be quieter when eating. Zhang Shan followed the direction of Lisi's eyes. Saw Li Qing. His expression changed suddenly. He suddenly realized that he forgot Li Qing doesn't know how to cook. So he immediately said, Boss, please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that you only know how to fight with swords, nor am I saying that you are not as good as Miss Lu. Li Qing said calmly, it's okay. Let's eat. It's good to have a lively atmosphere. Zhang Shan breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at Li Si, he said, the boss said it's okay. You're the only one causing trouble. Li Si coldly snorted disdainfully in his heart. You just wait. With Zhang Shan around, the atmosphere will be lively. This meal will be very lively. The next morning, LiMu arrived at the county government office. Just then, LiMu happened to see Zhang Shan walking over with a somber expression on his face. LiMu asked with concern, what's wrong with you? Zhang Shan complained. When I entered the yamen this morning, my hat wasn't worn properly. He was punished with 3 days of patrolling the streets by the boss. Your area is also included. LiMu is also happy to have leisure time. Okay then. Thank you for your hard work. Don't let the boss catch you not patrolling properly again. Zhang Shan nodded with a look of lifelessness. As he walked, he kept muttering all the way. It's strange. Usually, I haven't seen the boss punish me for such trivial matters. LiMu chuckled to himself. He punished you not because you didn't wear your hat properly. You don't have to patrol the streets. It's just right to go to Old Man Wang's place to find and read 2 books. Past the time, LiMu walked into the duty room. To his surprise, he found that he was not dozing off. Old Man Wang, I'm here to find a book to read, he said after nodding. Did ever-changing expert die? LiMu asked. Yes, he died. He was refined by the experts from the talisman-making faction. Old Man Wang didn't say anything more and continued to be busy. Today he didn't take a nap, which surprised hard-working LiMu. He swept the floor of the room very clean. He didn't stop until every corner was free of dust. Soon, the originally messy room was completely transformed. LiMu asked in confusion, What's wrong with you today? Why are you so diligent? Old Man Wang stretched his body and said, I'm going on a long journey. Before leaving, tidy up this place. Put the books and files in their proper places. To prevent others from not finding them. LiMu asked in confusion, Going on a long journey? Where are you going? Old Man Wang responded indifferently, to a faraway place. In fact, these past few months. I have a question that I've been wanting to ask you, LiMu said, putting down the book. You don't know. How would I know? Old Man Wang looked at LiMu with a smile on his face.
No.
You do know. LiMu looked at Old Man Wang. He couldn't help but feel that the Old Man Wang today seemed a bit unfamiliar. What's the matter? Old Man Wang asked. How did you manage to do it? How did you manage to possess LiMu's body without being discovered by them? LiMu's mind boomed with a loud explosion. Shivers ran down her body involuntarily. Apart from himself, only the murderer ever-changing expert, who had killed the original body, knew this secret. But he is already dead. He was captured and refined alive by 3 powerful experts, the inside Abstruse trio. Only after Hun flew away and dissipated would it make sense. Old Man Wang's originally murky eyes became clear. He looked at LiMu with a puzzled expression and said, I have been observing you for months. Your Hunper is just an ordinary mortal Hunpa. But you have achieved what even the cultivators in the 3 realms cannot do. No one can occupy a body without leaving a trace and not be detected by the Hun verification device. You are the first one I have ever seen. LiMu calmly asked Old Man Wang, Who are you? Old Man Wang smiled and asked, Can you guess who I am? LiMu said in a deep voice. Ever-changing expert didn't die? Old Man Wang said with a smirk. In the eyes of everyone, he is indeed dead. There will be no more ever-changing in this world from now on. However, isn't this what I want? LiMu looked at the familiar and yet unfamiliar Old Man Wang in front of him. For a moment, he found himself speechless. LiMu wanted to stand up, but he found that his hands and feet seemed to be trapped by something. LiMu said in a deep voice, I thought I had already broken your trap, but I didn't expect that I am still in the trap. From the beginning, the Old Man Wang that I knew was you, right? Old Man Wang smiled and said, For the past few months, I have been by your side gambling with you, joking with you, and answering your questions. That was all me. The bitterness in LiMu's heart deepened a bit. He had actually regarded him as one of the few friends, and even as a mentor in cultivation. LiMu asked, Killing so many innocent people. Can you really be so indifferent and justified? Old Man Wang responded casually, No one is innocent. I have taught you the laws of this world, which is the law of the jungle. The weak have no right to choose. LiMu sighed softly and asked, You have achieved your goal. Why come back to find me? Old Man Wang looked at him with strange eyes. Of course, out of curiosity. I still haven't figured it out till now. How did you manage to do all this? Not only can you borrow someone's body without leaving a trace, you also make it impossible to calculate the fate. If I didn't know you were already dead, I wouldn't even doubt if you were really LiMu. Moreover, I want your body. A young, pure young body. Of course, it's much better than this old bone that can barely move. I originally wanted to teach you the early Eye of Frost technique, but unfortunately you refused. I can only take over your body later. Let's think of another way later. LiMu said angrily. Isn't it the same as you if I use the method you taught to practice Eye of Frost? Old Man Wang smiled. Don't forget, I am not Old Man Wang. You are not LiMu either. You are the same as me. LiMu shook his head. I will not be like you. Even a few months old baby is not spared. Old Man Wang said calmly. You may not believe it when I say it, but she really wasn't killed by me. I'm just telling the truth. The purine physique is inherently a disaster star. It is easy to attract evil spirits and harm family members. I did not kill her. She was killed by her own family, and also Zhao Yong. He killed his fiancée in order to climb up the social ladder. He was executed by the court. I just happened to find out. I casually took his hunpa. What does his death have to do with me? I taught Renyuan cultivation, but I did not teach him to kill and take pu. It was his own inability to resist temptation. He deserves his death. And that squire as well. He relied on his power and influence to oppress the common people and take advantage of young women. What injustice is there in his death? Wu Bo was ruthless, committing all kinds of evil deeds, scheming against his colleagues, and repeatedly harming you, trying to push you into a desperate situation. Shouldn't he deserve to die? I have said it before. This world is not as kind as you think. Good people often have short lives, while evil people live long. This is a world where people prey on each other. If you don't want to be eaten, you have to eat others. LiMu listened to his arrogant and unreasonable words, and anger surged up in him. What about Wang Shi? And what about the innocent hundreds and thousands of people who died under the hands of the zombies in Zhou County? There is evil in your heart. All you see is evil. It's just an excuse you've found for your evil deeds. Old man Wang sneered. All right, there's no need to argue with me about this. It's not important now. Actually, you're quite interesting. It's a pity that you are too naive. It's not suitable for you to embark on the path of cultivation. How about becoming the one changing within my ever-changing instead? His words faded away. The Dao Yueying floated out from his body. It flew into Limu's body. Old man Wang's body also leaned to one side, heavily falling to the ground. After a moment, Limu stood up with an indifferent expression, walked out of the duty room, and left the yamen directly. Li Qing stood at the door of the duty room, with a slight frown on his forehead. She always felt that Limu looked strange today. There always seems to be a bad premonition lingering in Li Qing's mind. She hurriedly chased after, wanting to figure out the reason for all this. Unfortunately, Limu disappeared in the blink of an eye. The bad feeling in Li Qing's heart grew stronger. Another half an hour passed. Zhang Shan, sweating profusely, entered the yamen. He carried a paper package and walked into Old Man Wang's office. Old Man Wang, I brought back the buns you asked me to get for you this morning. A total of 12 won. But he had just walked through the door of the office. Just saw Old Man Wang slumped on the ground. Zhang Shan was stunned by the scene. At a glance, he could see that Old Man Wang had stopped breathing. He was like a lifeless body. His face turned extremely pale, and he cried out loud. Someone come. Quickly, someone come. Moments later, many colleagues gathered in the duty room. Chief Zhou sighed. Old Man Wang has already passed away. Zhang Shan had a sad expression on his face. All was well. How could it be? Chief Zhou said. Old Man Wang is getting old. His health is not good. He should have retired long ago. He has been working at the yamen all his life. Thus, leaving without suffering in a peaceful sleep is already a good outcome. Please accept my condolences. Li Si stood behind the crowd, looking around and asked, Where is LiMu? Several constables sighed and shook their heads. He should be on patrol. LiMu is usually close to Old Man Wang. I'll go find him. In a secluded forest outside the county town, there is a hidden array formed by several dozen broken stones. Sitting cross-legged within the array is a figure. He lowered his head to look at his hands and smiled. This body is really good. 1 hour later, I will be you. You are me now? Limu's spirit angrily said. You are just a part of his spirit. Lack the power of inside Abstruse. Ever-changing disdainfully said. It is enough to refine your spirit. With your body, I will soon be able to return to inside Abstruse. Within 10 years, there is hope to glimpse the secret of the original, Limu said solemnly. During this time, I truly considered you as a friend. I can't believe I trusted you so much. You deceived my feelings. Ever-changing smiled and said, I haven't lied to you about any of the questions you asked me. I've also helped you a lot, haven't I? Limu and ever-changing expert share the same body. Muttered to himself for a while. He felt like a fool. Although the hun of the ever-changing expert is more powerful, I am the master and he is the servant. Unless I release control before completely refining my hun. Otherwise, he cannot fully control my body. Ever-changing says. In fact, I am more curious about your secrets. How do you occupy the body? What are the two kinds of Taoist arts? Limu remained silent. At this moment, he really doesn't want to deal with this guy. Ever-changing smiled. Since you don't want to tell me, I can only merge with your soul hun and then find it myself. Limu suddenly sighed. I said, we are different. Why bother with this again? Ever-changing also doesn't care much. In fact, whether Limu speaks or not does not change the fact that he will know. At this moment, Limu regained control of the body. In the amazed eyes of ever-changing, Limu suddenly raised his hand and made a gesture. It was the hand seal of the Big Dipper in the Taoist tradition. Limu quickly recited a sentence. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. As soon as the words fell, ever-changing expert sensed a strong sense of life and death crisis. A tremendously powerful force of heaven and earth is gathering in the void. The unease in the ever-changing heart deepened. If I get hit, I will really die. Ever-changing wants to leave LiMu's body, but LiMu forcibly pulled ever-changing back into his own body with spiritual force. Ever-changing is struggling madly inside his body. Want to escape from here? Just too bad. Just in that moment that trapped him, the power of heaven and earth has come crashing down. Inside him is the aspect hun of the ever-changing expert. In an instant, he was wiped out by this immense power of heaven and earth. Blood spurted out of LiMu's mouth. His chi and blood were at their lowest point. LiMu gave a bitter smile with fresh blood still flowing from his mouth. However, upon sensing the disappearance of the aura of the ever-changing expert, a slight smile appeared on LiMu's lips. Then, he fell straight down. Life and death were uncertain. Before losing consciousness, LiMu faintly saw a white figure flash by in front of his eyes. It was also unknown how much time had passed. Suddenly, a few urgent calls came to his ears. LiMu struggled to open his eyes. LiMu saw a white fox licking his face. LiMu recognized this little fox. He saved it from the hunter's hands when he first came to this world. Unexpectedly, in just a short time, things changed drastically. It has reached the shaping embryo realm? The little fox asked with concern. Master, how do you feel? LiMu affectionately patted her head and said, You wait first. After speaking, he gritted his teeth and sat down cross-legged. He examined his own condition internally. The hun power contained in the ever-changing expert's split soul is too much. At this moment, all of it is accumulating in LiMu's body. If it cannot be vented out, I'm afraid that in less than half an hour, LiMu's body will explode like a balloon. Suddenly he felt that there was something unusual around him. After using the heavenly eye technique, he discovered that there was a strong force of emotion permeating around him. This force of emotion is black. It is exactly the malicious aura required to condense the sixth Pua. Indeed, it took half a year. Countless thoughts were spent to lay down such a scheme within a scheme. Yet it was destroyed by just a few words from oneself. Ever-changing should not blame himself. It's just that he also did not expect that this surging force of emotion would once again benefit me. LiMu tentatively estimates that this malice would be enough for him to condense the Pua 8 or 10 times. Collect all these malice without wasting any. LiMu reached into his bosom and took out a divine talisman, sticking it onto his body. Swiftly rushed towards a certain direction. The little fox also quickly followed. Wait for me. Wait for me. This way to Baishui Water Bay. LiMu ran towards the small house hidden by the water, knocking on the door while anxiously shouting, Sister Sue, come out quickly. The moment Sewer opened the door, her expression changed. Why did it turn out like this? LiMu didn't answer. The moment he saw Sewer appear, his mind relaxed a little, but also because of this. Countless exhaustion flooded LiMu's mind in an instant. This made him lose consciousness once again. Sewer's face was full of astonishment. There is too much hun power in his body. If it is not released, he will die. And this hun power is entangled with his spiritual essence. In this case, the method of guidance will not be able to pull it out, letting these hun powers run rampant. He only has a dead end. A trace of hesitation appeared on her face. Do you want to use that method? But that's my first time. But then she hugged LiMu's body. He lowered his head and kissed her. LiMu only felt a surging power in his body. Suddenly found a vent. Begins to decrease rapidly. Meanwhile, his lips felt a trace of coldness, but the touch was very soft. The moment LiMu opened his eyes, their gazes met. He finally understood what the strange sensation just now was all about. Sewer absorbed most of LiMu's spiritual power, then released him with a sigh, saying, I never thought my first time would be with you. LiMu sighed, It's also my first time. Sewer asked with a black face, What does it mean when you sigh? Do you feel wronged? LiMu shook his head repeatedly. Of course not. If it weren't for you, we would have died long ago. Sewer stopped arguing. How could you have so much hun power in your body? LiMu pursed his lips. He recounted the whole story. LiMu also said with lingering fear, Luckily, he only wanted to occupy my body, instead of directly destroying my hun power. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to see you again. After he finished speaking, he suddenly sensed that Sewer's aura was a bit unstable. What's wrong with you? Sewer said, I have absorbed too much hun power from within you. I must immediately go into seclusion to refine and assimilate it. Otherwise, future problems may arise. You go back first. I need to seclude myself for a period of time, LiMu asked. How long will you be in seclusion? Sewer replied. At least half a month, possibly several months. During this time, you must take care of yourself. LiMu nodded. Okay, I will come to see you again in half a month. LiMu left Baishui Water Bay and headed towards the county town. Ever-changing has completely disappeared. I no longer have to worry about being spied on by the powerful inside Abstruse hidden in the dark. There is no need to worry about someone leaking the secret of my rebirth. At this moment, although his whole body was in severe pain, he felt an unprecedented sense of relaxation in his heart. He hummed a cheerful tune as he walked on the road. Suddenly, a fox jumped out from the bushes. The little fox spoke human language. Her voice was as clear and melodious as a maiden's. "Sir, you saved my life last time. I want to repay your kindness." LiMu waved his hand and said, "I never do good deeds expecting anything in return. You can go." LiMu had gone through the incident with Old Man Wang, making him cautious and slow to trust people. "Let alone demons." The little fox shook its head repeatedly.
No, no.
Grandmother said so. The Tianhu clan always repays kindness, otherwise it will affect future cultivation. LiMu looked at it in surprise. "Are you from the Tianhu clan?" It is recorded in the bestiary of the 10 continents that the Tianhu clan is devoted to human karma. The Tianhu clan is devoted to human karma. They always repay kindness and seek revenge for enmity. If you become enemies with them, they will even lurk in silence for decades to find an opportunity for revenge. But if you show kindness to them, they will also find a way to repay the kindness. This is their unique cultivation method. Simply refusing their gratitude will not change their minds either. LiMu thought for a moment and said, "Do you have any valuable herbs that have aged? Give me some as a token of gratitude." The little fox shook its head.
No.
LiMu sighed in resignation. It seemed that this little fox was even poorer than a yellow rat. It couldn't even get a single medicinal herb. LiMu could only say, "Just give me something casual as a gift. In the future, we won't owe each other anything." The little fox shook its head. "Master saved my life. I cannot just casually give you something. That wouldn't be a proper repayment for your kindness." LiMu was at a loss. "Then you tell me, how would you like to repay the kindness?" The little fox suddenly lowered its head, a hint of shyness appearing in its gem-like eyes. "The books say that for the gift of saving a life, one should offer oneself." LiMu looked puzzled. "Offer oneself? You want to marry me?" The little fox blushed, covering its face and nodding. LiMu was truly speechless. Once, there was a beautiful snake lady who wanted to marry him. He did not agree. Now another fox has appeared, and it doesn't even have evolution shape. To save its life, you have to give yourself up. I have also saved Lu Hanyan. Why doesn't she have this kind of enlightenment? And she wants to marry me. Why are they either snakes or foxes? Am I not deserving of living with humans? LiMu felt dissatisfied in his heart. You are still inexperienced in the ways of the world. You do not understand the dark side of human nature. Do not be deceived by those unscrupulous authors' writings. The little fox shook its head again. He is not an unscrupulous author. LiMu snorted coldly. What kind of book are you reading? I really want to know who dares to talk nonsense like this.